All right, here we are. Ready?
Welcome to Books You Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Jason.
And today we are talking about all of and the last third of Never Let Me Go.
By Kazuo Ishiguro.
There you go. So, if you have not read all of this book yet, please stop, back up, get out of here, read the book, and then come on back and join us on the replay. If you're joining us live, chat it up in the chat. And if you're joining us on the replay, chat it up in the comments section. If you would like to hear us and not see us, we are on YouTube Music as a podcast. And that's all I know.
That's about it. I'll remind everybody that today is our last episode for almost a month, I think.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So we'll get to that at the end. Stick around if you want to hear what our plans are for you guys while we're gone.
Yeah.
And for ourselves, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, so here we are. Last reading. What's up?
Yeah, did y'all like it? Yeah. We've got a little bit of decoration behind us.
It is very Christmassy up in this house already. So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, so this book will never let me go. That's what's going to happen. It's going to stay with me forever.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Yeah. I really liked it. In a very subtle and unexpected way. Mm-hmm. You know, this is like going to the movies thinking that you're watching a movie, but it turns out to be a film. And like you maybe never thought about what's the difference between a movie and a film, but when you see it, you know it.
I have. Yeah, okay, I get it.
That's what this is like. This is not some elaborate novel with in-depth characters and amazing scenery and twists and turns and lots of development. It's a snapshot into this world from the viewpoint of mostly one person going through it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool.
Okay.
It's sad.
Yeah. You know, I kept going up with all these like crazy conspiracy theories of like what I thought could happen. And I didn't get any of that. And that's okay. Because I do often say on this show that like I do like stories that are just about people. Mm-hmm. Where like nothing happens. And you use the word snapshot. And earlier you had described it as like a photo or something. Mm-hmm. And like I do like that. But I do like that. So whenever I get that, I feel like I shouldn't complain, right? Because I often say like I just kind of want a story about a normal person or whatever. But this wasn't a photo. This was the photo album that you didn't ask to see of somebody's trip to someplace you've never been. And I could have handled a photo, right?
Yeah.
There are things I do like about this.
This was like a scrapbook. You're right.
There are things I like about this book, and we'll talk about those. But the dog is under the microphone. It's just for me. I think for what we got, I do like what we got, and I'll talk about why. And I enjoyed the ending, and I'll talk about why. But it could have been shorter. I could have gotten like if this had been a short story where, and in my mind, with the way I would have formulated this, it would have been the confrontation with the two old ladies at their house, and I would have got one flashback to like these people's time in school. And then like come back with like this sort of explanation and everything, and I think that would have been so perfect. Just like, but like I didn't need the cottages at all. I didn't need like repeated stories about the same characters just being terrible to each other, like in school or whatever. I like if I got a flashback to like what their childhood was like to help me understand why this is a tragedy, other than just like a moral tragedy, then like I think I would have liked that.
I was thinking that I liked it so much because it was so short. I didn't feel like it took a whole chunk out of my life to read this very sad and almost pointless story. Like, I read tons of Harry Potter this week.
Right.
Because I finished the book so early.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe if we had broken this book up into a shorter read, maybe I would feel differently. But like, it
like
could
2 weeks instead of 3 weeks.
It could have been 20 pages and I'd have been happy.
I don't know. We talk sometimes about how, like, when you're a kid and it's your, like, you remember your 6th birthday, you remember your 8th birthday, you remember, like, these very specific ones when you're younger, and time seems to go so slow. But, like, I can't tell you the difference between my 20th through 39th birthday.
Yeah.
I can't identify any of them. And time goes by so fast now. And it's because now 1 year of my life is such a smaller portion of the whole than what it was when I was younger. Every year mattered when you're young because it's such a large portion of your life.
Sure.
With these guys, these clones, every year of their life is very important.
Yeah.
It's the most they'll ever have.
Yeah.
Because it will be cut very short.
Yeah.
They're only living to 22 or 23.
Yeah. And I get it.
And so we have to see what life was like at Helsham and what it was like at the cottages, because that showed us that not every clone got a Helsham.
Yeah.
And that was their opportunity to grow up a little bit and play pretend and play pretend adulthood and a pretend college. I mean, you know, you tell stories of when you were in college and stuff. Those stories to you are very important. And to me, they're a little funny, but they're not very important.
Yeah. I would say they're not that important to me either.
But you tell the stories and you relive them every time you hang out with your friends.
But I also recognize that one story is enough, and then when it builds into another and another and another, it's time to shut up. Right?
You say that.
No, but like I'm saying that. And
I sat through those parties.
And I recognize that happens. But I also recognize that that's not interesting to anybody else. I know that.
But it is interesting to the people who shared that experience.
Sure. And that's not me. But that's my point, right? Like, I get it. These stories are important to them. They're not important to me.
Because we aren't, and that is the point. We are the normal people.
Yeah, these are the people who've talked too long at the party, is my point. They're me.
But that's why I really liked having the weird cottages phase, and that felt so unimportant. Because that was all they had.
Yeah.
And so we're supposed to be getting this lesson as the normal people.
Yeah. I guess I feel like it was much ado about nothing. And I think that's your point too, but you're like, I appreciate the ado, and I don't appreciate the ado.
I really did.
Now, so now that I've like hated on the length of the thing, I will say I love a tragic ending, and I do enjoy. I personally like the ending. I love that they show up and that they talk to these people, and they're just like, you know what? Sorry, you're gonna get your organs harvested, and they're like, oh dang, and then like they move on with their lives. I actually really like the aspect where I don't even know the main character's name anymore. Kathy and Tommy like break up before he dies. Yeah. I like that because I think that's actually like kind of realistic. They're trying to like emotionally insulate themselves as this like goes on or whatever. And I, you mentioned Harry Potter. My big complaint about Harry Potter is that he lives. That really annoys me because he died. Like, let's just let him stay dead. And then he's a hero. And these people aren't heroes. But I like that it doesn't end up well for them, you know? Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, is, like, I think I said this a couple times last week. I was like, if we just find out that these are, like, living organ farms and nobody cares, I think that's dumb. And I have changed my stance on that. And I think that the ladies that live in the house, the old teachers, give a good reason for why the system works this way. Like, at first, people didn't know that there were, like, living clones that were being harvested for organs. But when they found out, they were already too hooked on this like medical technology, and they couldn't put it back in the box. And when I first read that, I was like, all right, whatever. And then I was like, oh yeah, but like our phones are made by basically slave labor, and we buy the new one every year. And I get a $5 shirt from someplace in the mall, and it's because a child made that. Oh yeah, we do this, you know. And so I do feel like I think the whole premise of cloning people for organs is a bit over the top, but it's an over the top and interesting way of talking about something that is kind of mundane to us, because I would not have read a book about, I mean, I probably would have, honestly, about like a person making cell phones in a factory somewhere that couldn't leave. I would have read that, but like it would have been a little less fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way of delivering an actual point about our actual world.
Right.
Hey, boo boo.
And I did make a couple of notes on that. You know, like the purpose of Helsham and everything. Like, people want to know and don't want to know about the clones.
Right.
You know, people are going to be interested in it, but they don't want to know that they're real people. But then once they do know they're real people, they want to know that they're having a humane upbringing, and they get to experience life in a nice way. But they don't want to know about it too much, because then they have to be reminded that they would also care about dying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like we're like this with animals, right? Like we want to know that like our cows are grass-fed, live in a field before we shoot a bolt through their head, or like it's like not too much. We don't want to know too much about like where the meat comes from.
Right. No one wants to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah. It's a true thing.
Yeah. And you know, why is Helsham shut down? You know, there was
because somebody was doing cool stuff with the clones.
Yeah, there was some kind of scandal.
Yeah.
You know, but then Helsham was the place that was providing a good quality of life for these children.
Well, Helsham was an experiment, right? And that's the point. It's like, well, what if instead of like basically growing them in these like factory clone farms, we grew them in like an English boarding school? And they did that, and it was okay. It seems terribly expensive. But some dude was making clones that were better than actual humans, like cool stuff, and everybody got mad about that, so they shut down everything that basically wasn't a factory farm.
Right. So the cloning will continue, but now the humane avenue for doing it is gone. Yeah. And I think that that's also kind of an allegory that, like, when these things are exposed, there's this government intervention that's gonna, we're gonna fix this, and really you just close the case so that no one else can see what's going on. And that happens with, like, slave labor and everything else, too. Yeah. Like, oh, well, now you can buy, you know, World Trade certified stuff. Right. And we're making sure that these farms are sustainable and that these farmers' children go to school.
Right.
Okay. Well, I feel better now. I can buy it. Yeah. But I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, you don't know. And we find out every couple of years that, like, those people are lying to you.
And it's not like their standard of living has been brought up to mine. Yeah. But I'm happy knowing that my $25 rug is paying for this kid to go to school. Yeah.
So Shelby asks, what was the point of the art? And I think the point of the art is what they had guessed, that it was supposed to show that they have a soul, which is like, fine, whatever.
It is also a form of conditioning. Those kids were conditioned from the start that they should be giving pieces of themselves away.
I buy that. That's interesting. Nobody said that in the book, did they?
I think Kathy realizes that. Nothing
that's
in this book is
fire assessment right there.
Explicitly stated.
Yeah, I like that. That's very
I
good.
had a little bit of help. Don't get me wrong.
That's good.
I found a little bit of analysis online to kind of help me put some pieces together here. But that makes total sense.
Yeah, I like that way more than showing people they have a soul, because
it was both. It was both.
But so now we live in this world where we're harvesting people for organs, but we care very deeply about souls. Like, what are we doing?
Right, but it wouldn't be care deeply. It would be, look, they live in an environment where they can create and express themselves and enjoy, which is a natural human right.
What I mean is that we live in a world where we can easily clone people, and we live in a world where people generally still care about the concept of a soul.
And it's not so much soul, it's personality, it's independence.
They specifically say soul.
Who did?
The book repeatedly uses the word soul. This immaterial essence of yourself that there's no physical evidence for.
Well,
but here we are killing real physical people that cut their kidneys out. And we can't, I think the whole soul concept was a bit much.
But soul just means self. It means I. It doesn't have to mean spiritual soul.
We have no evidence that that's what these people mean.
But we also have no evidence that they believe in any kind of higher...
Except for the word that they use, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what that word means.
It means I. It means self.
I don't think that's what that means. I think history would disagree.
So. Well, but it never mentions any. There's no church here for these kids. There's no heaven. There's no hell. There is, you live to donate. Yeah. And that is it. That's your ultimate goal.
For as much information that we got that I felt like was unnecessary, I feel like there was some information that I wanted that we never got. Like, are these kids owned by somebody? What's the deal there? Is this government run? Is this private run? I want to know a little bit, like, who owns these factory farms, and like, what's the situation there? And we don't need to know that. But I didn't need to know anything about their sex lives, and I got all that. So like, you could at least tell me who's running this joint.
But that's a whole other story, right? That's a whole other piece of sci-fi. how this is run and how it came about and how they
Yeah,
continue it and all that stuff.
It could have been 2 sentences. I'm not saying I need a lot. Like, I just need somebody to throw it in there.
But I think that would give us enough to critique it, to pick it apart and say, well, that couldn't work because then this would happen and blah, blah, blah. You know, that would give us
I'm just
enough
interested in the finance. Because Hailsham is expensive, right? The way they're doing this is expensive.
Yeah.
And so, and like, I want to know, like, who's getting the organs? Because if it's just rich people, then I feel like this probably wouldn't have survived for very long because all the poor people would have been mad. Is it like a lottery? What's the deal here?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I thought about that too.
Yeah.
So speaking of their conditioning, it's also interesting that they were brainwashed or conditioned enough to only push back a little. They pushed back enough to find out if they could have their donation time deferred, but not be exempt from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No one tried to run away. They
Yep.
just went on day trips to go peek into office windows and see what life could be like for them.
Yeah.
Did you just see something outside? It's okay.
Yeah, but the guy's gone now. He's been gone. Anyway, I think that I think people would have run away, and like I think that whole system where you're just like, I'm gonna run around and be a carer and do nothing else. Like, I suppose you could condition somebody to that point.
Well, you want me to go get her?
No, it's fine. I'll go.
Or shut the door? Okay.
But I've lost my train of thought. It doesn't matter.
That you think they would run away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you could condition somebody to not run away. That's fine, I guess. But like, out of the hundreds of thousands of people, somebody would have. And this is a bad system for you've the reason it's a bad system is not because like they could run away. It's because you have dumped hundreds of thousands of dollars theoretically into creating this person, and then you're just like, could you please drive across the country and show back up so we can harvest your organs? And like, that's a very expensive mistake. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. For the one that does run off.
we fence our cows in, right? Like, cows are expensive to raise. We fence them in. We don't just like let them wander everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are with people who can like hop on a plane,
Mm-hmm.
and we just let them go.
Well, I wonder if they could hop on a plane. I wonder if they have
There
proper
are
ID for that.
People out there that are significantly concerned about clone souls enough to like stick them on a boat and smuggle them to Europe. 100%. They're out there. Guaranteed.
Yeah. So, you know, I really hated Ruth in parts 1 and 2. And I still kind of ended the book just
She's still a bad.
finding her despicable.
Yeah, she's still a bad person.
But I do see her now by the end of it as more of a tragic figure, because, you know, Tommy could go in a field and scream or have a tantrum, and that was how he processed his anger for the way that they have to live and what they ultimately have to do. And then that's how he could accept it. And Kathy found a way to just accept the small joys in life, and she generally was quite content to just find her happiness and then go on and do the things she's expected to do.
Mm-hmm.
But Ruth was never able to do that. Ruth saw the magazines, and she saw the ads, and she saw the TV shows, and she saw the girl in the window, and could never accept that she couldn't have that life for herself. And she intentionally kept Kathy and Tommy away from each other. You know, so not only could she not accept her own fate, but she recognizes by the time she dies that she ruined other people's lives as well because of her lack of willingness to accept her fate.
Yeah.
And so that I find very tragic.
She's definitely a tragic character. She's definitely the worst person in the book, and I'm like, she might be worse than the people running Hailsham who were harvesting organs, because at least they were trying to be kind, and Ruth was trying to be cruel. And I have an alternative reading that I have no evidence for. I think that it's entirely possible. You know, so she like tries to make amends, right? Oh, sorry, I got something in my eye. She tries to make amends by saying, well, like, look, y'all should try for this exemption. It should have always been y'all. I kept you guys apart. Go find the lady. Here's the address.
Yeah, what did she do to get that address?
You guys are going to get the exemption. And that's supposed to be her, like, way of apologizing. But I enjoy it much better as her final act of spite. It was not a kindness. It is a final cruelty before her death to give somebody hope that they were never going to have, that there was no evidence for. And it's this last final dig. Yeah, the last knife that she can put into them. And I don't care what the book says. I don't care if it's makes me if it. I don't care if Kathy thinks that Ruth was
Right.
apologizing. Ruth is a bad person and will be a bad person to the end, and that's a much more interesting reading of it for me.
I think it's within Kathy's character to have gone through that and accept what Ruth did as an apology, because that makes Kathy feel at peace.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
and
find
she
it
constantly does
perfectly
that for Ruth.
within Ruth's character for that have not to have been a selfless act at all.
No, it was stone cold.
Yeah.
Whatever she did, I was like, oh my god, like, this is bad news.
Yeah. And, you know, people in the comments are saying, you know, all the sex parts were really, really weird and really cringy. And I found, I mean, yes, it was weird and cringy and awkward, but it's very normal.
Mm-hmm.
These are kids figuring out, like, these are kids who cannot reproduce but still have all of the hormones and production of hormones to make them go through all these things that kids and young adults go through anyway. So I think that it was kind of natural to include that.
Yeah. I think I am not opposed to books discussing sex. I think it's a essential part of the human condition, and I think that books that leave it out are weird. I think talking about minors having sex crosses a line for me. I think like that's just a professional thing. I think it's strange and borders creepy. And I do think that the way that this book did it was cringy. There was a way that you could talk about it that wouldn't have been as weird, and the book said, "Where's the weird buttons? I'm gonna hit them all." And
Well, it's not like we had to like watch them do it.
no, but we got pretty close, right? Like I feel like it was just, I don't know. I mean, it was just on and on and on and on and on, and then you're like, a new chapter. Never mind, here it is again. I mean, like they really hammered it home. Really hammered it home. There is so much of what these people care about, and so much of like the tragedy of their short lives is about sex. I think it's not the fact that they're going to die, it's the fact that they can't have more sex. That's like really what I got out of this, because it's just, that's all. I mean, it was, if we sat down and broke up percentage of sentences, like what they were about, the overwhelming majority of this book percentage wise is gonna be about sex, and it's too much. I just don't. I got one lunchroom scene. Let me tell you about how important food is to me. I got one. Give me 3 of those.
I like how important that Norfolk or whatever area and trip became. Like that's the land of lost things or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's where she found her tape, but it wasn't really her tape. It was a copy of a tape.
Yeah.
Very much like she's a copy. So
Oh,
I thought
interesting.
that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
The Lost Corner.
Peggy says that if I think that like it's sort of cruel to give somebody hope, then Hailsham is a cruel place because it kind of gives the children hope, and it's nice to them. And yes, I agree. It doesn't matter what kind of like dressing you put on the place; it's still a clone farm for kidneys.
Yeah.
I don't care
It
if it's
is.
like in the English countryside, you know. If anything, it makes me salty because it's an inefficient clone farm. And, like, if we're doing this, okay. I mean, it just.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if we're going to do it and they have feelings,
Yeah.
we might as well give them an avenue to express those feelings and live the best life that they can live.
Yeah. I do want to. Shelby says she prefers Iron Flame. So, first off, Iron Flame's fire. I'm on board. But, like, that's a book that had a lot of sex in it. I didn't find it cringy and weird. It was explicit, whereas this was not. But I still didn't find it. Like, it just.
This whole book is cringy and weird because it's a cringy, weird topic.
I don't feel that way.
You want to be friends with the person who's going to give you their kidney?
I don't know. I don't mind talking about clones and stuff. I don't think I would do that. Like I don't think I would take a living
What
person's
if you didn't
kidney.
know? What if you
I can't
just
be held
are in-
responsible for that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, what if you found out later, like, oh, my life was saved, and I thought it was just someone else who had died and donated their kidney, but really it came from this kidney farm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that is cringy and that is weird, and it's a truth that we would be
I would like to think I would like
sad to learn.
join the resistance to end this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the hang up that everybody else has about this soul thing. That's the problem. They're allowed to do these things to these clones because they don't have souls. That's why they're allowed to do this to clones and not to like real people. It brings us back to this soul thing. If you just get rid of that concept, they're people. And I'm not harvesting anybody's kidneys. Like, because you made this word up, right? I'd be like, come on. It's crazy. They're not any less people.
Right.
But they are if they don't have a soul. They're missing the whole reason that the soul thing matters is because that's the essential aspect of being a human being.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that word is just used because that is the word people use.
No. It is used specifically for that reason. If you don't have a soul, you are not a person. If you don't have a soul, you're not a person. Therefore, we can harvest your kidneys because you're not a person. In the same way that if you want to be like people of this race, well, they don't have souls. Well, it's cool then. Like, we can go do whatever we want to them.
I think I'm missing your point. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Just like, if nobody has a soul, you don't get to harvest anybody's kidneys. Better world.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's it. That's all I got. Peggy mentions they didn't even expand on the war that brought it about.
They made it sound like it was just like World War II.
I think it was World War II.
And this is like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So this has been going on for
But
a while.
I think the reason that we think it was World War II is because they make a comment that cloning started in like the 50s or 60s. And there's no reason for us to. They never mention the decade that we're, or like the century that we're in. But we do have cassette tapes.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And Walkmans.
Yeah. What do you think, if somebody wants to sell their kidney, do you think people should be allowed to sell their body parts?
Sure.
I guess I don't have a problem with it, but like I do see where it can get like weird and abusive.
I do kind of wonder though. Yeah, I mean, like everyone has a price, right?
Yeah.
And you want your kids to go to college, so you're going to sell your kidney, and then your lung, and then your spleen, and now your kids don't have a parent, but they have money to go to college. So,
yeah.
What was really the best thing to do there? And also, I don't know, the kind of person that might be willing to sell a kidney might not be someone that I would want the kidney of.
Yeah. I think, number one, we should live in a world where people shouldn't feel forced to sell their body parts. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But that being said, like, if you just wanted to, because first off, I'd be like, can I give you $10? You know, and just help you out, man. Let's push this a couple days. But,
yeah. I mean, because we can, like, sell our blood, but that's because that regenerates. I don't know.
Peggy's asking why are they making whole humans, and I suspect the reason they're making whole humans is because they realized that, like, and I think they did say this in the book, that they had started just making like organs and they weren't doing well.
Yeah, like a spleen in a vat doesn't perform as well as a spleen in a human that gets blood and oxygen.
Yeah. I agree that a spleen in a vat is definitely more cost effective, and like y'all can maybe they're working on that, and maybe we are working our way towards a future where we can just grow those body parts without a whole person being attached. That'd be great.
I kept having like a visual image of like that time that we successfully like grew an ear on someone's arm, you know?
Or it was like... on a rat. We grew an ear on a rat's back. Yeah.
Gross.
Peggy says, would you rather the kidney of a murderer or the kidney of a clone of a murderer? That's interesting.
You know, and I also thought it was interesting that Kathy and Ruth thought about the quality of who they were by who they came from. And, you know, we think about that too, like we come from our parents and what kind of people are our parents and what kind of people does that make us. And so I thought that was very sad that, you know, they're looking for so much meaning in their world, just like anybody does, but they don't know from where they came. And so they're looking through dirty mags and thinking that surely the people that they're cloned from were people that don't matter in society anyways. That's very sad. There was just a lot of little pieces, just a little pieces of breadcrumbs dropped in this book of just very like potent things to think about.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely are a lot of little tragedies, and I enjoy the tragedy. I want to be very clear about that. I enjoy the tragedy that is this book, right? Like the tragedy bit. But like, you know, I've said this every episode so far. The Island does the exact same thing. It is 2 hours. It is a movie. There's less weird sex, but there is kind of a happy ending, and so like knock against it because I enjoy the sad ending here.
Yep. She just accepts her little fate.
Yeah. Well, we don't even get to the part where she starts donating.
It just, yeah, we know that that's next.
What if it never comes? Like, for whatever reason, she has never been picked, you know?
No, it's a choice when you go from being carer to donor.
See, that's crazy. Just don't choose. Like, what happens if they're all like, let's never choose?
I think it goes with that. Just we naturally want to fulfill a purpose in life.
Yeah.
And it's so ingrained in them that that's their purpose.
I agree. But, like, there are people running around this world that don't like this. Find all the carers, start, like, counter-programming them to want to be supermarket clerks or whatever they're qualified to be with the no math that they ever took. And, you know...
In Amish society, all teenagers are allowed Rumspringa.
Yep.
They can go for 20 years, 30 years.
Yep.
They almost always come back.
Yeah.
The women come back almost immediately. They only spend about 4 to 6 months in Rumspringa.
But I think that's a knock against our society and not like a positive of theirs. You know what I mean? Like it just, we didn't do enough to like give those people meaning and hope and things and a way of getting out. But we could do that. Like we could target these people, you know, and help them make something and see that there's a better life. It's just an inefficient system, allowing somebody to decide to be an organ donor after you spent all this money. What are we doing here?
I think there's too much in society that while we might inwardly want them to not want to choose to do this, we're also like, yeah, but we really need those organs. Like, I don't have to die from kidney failure anymore. Yeah. So I need you to go do your thing. Yeah. And be like, no, you don't have to. I hope you do. Yeah. We thank you for your sacrifice. We want people to do these bad jobs.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't think you get to pick to become a donor because Tommy's number got called up early.
Because he was a bad carer.
But he did not choose that. He did not choose to become a donor. They were like, surprise, here's your time, right?
You've had 3 complaints, you're out. Right.
Yeah. And so he didn't choose that. He just like willfully went into it or whatever. Like this system seems to be working very conveniently for these people who are running it or whatever. Boo boo, that is, we're clean now, thank you. But yeah, but like, what if I'm gonna save your life real quick? Come here.
Yeah.
Come here, give me that.
And the dog got tangled up.
I mean, it's possible that Kathy never gets picked. Like they could just be like, "You're a solid carer, and we just let you keep running." I mean, like I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying there's options.
I think she would want to end that at some point. It's so lonely and so exhausting.
All right, so let's say somebody is raised up in some weird cult where they believe that their whole purpose in life is to donate their organs. And you've brought them out, and they've lived in your society for 10 years now, and then they're like, all right, it's time to sell my organs.
Yeah.
What do? Do you let them?
But they don't make any connections with anyone outside of this society.
But they're like, but they do. You've befriended this person, and that's what they want to do.
I'd kidnap her, and we'd run away.
But that is against their will. Kidnapping is wrong.
That's fine. I'm aggressively helpful.
Yeah.
That's in my nature.
It's true. I'm going to make her a shirt. I don't think, like if what happens when, like, that's all that's going to make somebody happy is to finally give their organs off or whatever. I don't know. Number one, I don't think your happiness is that important. I'm just going to, like, do it. Okay, what did Greg say?
Sorry, Greg said, sorry for being meta, but this is a great episode because you two so rarely disagree.
Greg, we constantly disagree, just not on TV.
no, not really.
No, I know it's not true. It's not true. We almost always agree, and I think we are agreeing on some things here. And the things that we are disagreeing on is the length of the book and what soul means. And boy, have I disagreed with many people.
I think it's interesting in this book just to see that exploration of the relationship between science and philosophy, science and morality, that kind of thing. That's something we talked about a lot when I taught philosophy. It was, we have like this natural will to want to explore and to want to learn and to figure things out and to solve problems, but that does not give any indication of, like, once we've learned how to do this thing, should we do this thing? What are the implications of doing this thing? What if a bad person starts doing this thing with bad intentions rather than just the intention of wanting to improve, to get better, or, to learn? And, improving my life is ending your life. And, and so I just think that that's really interesting to be able to read what I think was a pretty short read.
Yeah. I think too that like talking about the philosophy of everything, literally nobody ever studies the philosophy of science anymore, and just like sort of like what is the point of what we're doing and what is the goal here. And I had to take a couple classes about that sort of thing, and like what are the ethical implications of like AI or like whatever it is that we're doing. And so often, especially in our society, we do it because we can, and that is part of like why I could believe that you could find yourself in this clone organ society or whatever, because like somebody just did it and nobody slowed down to be like, hey, but like, should we though?
I remember when Dolly the sheep was cloned. That was a very interesting time.
Yeah,
I was little, but like,
yeah,
it was interesting.
You think we've cloned a person? For sure. Somewhere in China, there's some clone dude running around.
Maybe.
I mean, if we can clone a sheep, how hard is it? Like, ain't no way. We done this.
I don't know that the sheep did Dolly survive very long?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember.
But that was like in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like that this book explores creating meaning in a controlled life, or like in a world where we don't really have choice, like fate versus free will. I think it's important that people find meaning in their lives, whether you believe in free will or not. Whether free will actually exists or not.
I think I agree. I think meaning is important, but I think meaning is rarely created. If you are somebody who can create meaning, that's like a very like Nietzschean level of things, and like you have ubermensched yourself, right? If you can like go and create meaning, and you have to give people meaning, and this speaks to your point about like they all wanted to go become donors or whatever, because that's what had given their lives meaning, or
that's
whatever.
Their ultimate aim.
And our society gives us meaning. You're supposed to like have kids and like work your 9 to 5 and sit in your cubicle, and
you're supposed to contribute positively to society.
Yeah. Part of me thinks a little, and I don't think this is what the book is supposed to be about, but part of me thinks about how much like our society, sort of this school to organ donor pipeline is, because where like maybe there's sort of the illusion of choice, right? You can choose to leave the cottages, you can choose to not be a carer or whatever it is, but like you're gonna donate your organs, Tommy, like this is coming for you. And we have this, like, is that what we've got, this illusion of choice? But you're going to get a job so you can pay your taxes, so you can be a contributing member of society, or we're going to put you away for a little while till you like get your mind right or whatever. And the people who don't have a good sense of meaning, what's one thing I wish we had in this book that we never got? I wish, this is going to sound terrible, I'm sorry, there were no clone suicides. None. And I think that would have been an interesting aspect to explore, sort of, either because of a lack of meaning, or like the meaning that they are given doesn't fit right. But that would have been such an incredibly like humanizing event, and there are lots of like difficult conversations that could have been had around that event for the clones themselves. Like it could have happened at Hailsham, like something. Like, and they'd have to like deal with that as kids or whatever, and there could have been some really powerful moments there, I think.
Yeah. Someone in the chat mentioned the rumors about the kids that had like left Hailsham and then died out in the woods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know, those are probably created just to like keep kids from running away.
Like the village.
You know, but what if, yes, I did think about that as we were reading this. But what if one of those was a suicide, you know? Like what if
Sure.
And but they didn't really talk about it like that, you know.
Yeah.
They were just found out there later.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like, so I was thinking about this morning, but unrelated to this book, and I don't know why I was thinking about this, but like, animals don't commit suicide, like ever. You know, like they might die to save like their family or whatever, you know, but like they don't just like go off and die for no reason. And so if animals don't do that, is it the hallmark of things with souls to be able to do that sort of like, I want to check out now thing? And so if you are trying to prove that these people, that these clones have souls, let's cut out the art thing and just like see if somebody...
How would we know if an animal died by suicide?
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't even begin
like,
to
I mean,
know
if
that.
they just stop eating,
yeah, but
is that dying by, and nothing else is wrong with
I don't
them?
know. Probably not. That might just be like depression, and I'm not sure I want to like count that as the same thing. But like they don't go like jumping off bridges, and I am unaware.
Sheep
I am
will like walk off the cliff, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's true. But I don't think it's intentional.
cows?
That's a
how do you
that
know?
is a herd mentality
How
problem.
do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
What if that whole herd was like, y'all,
Yeah.
this is our only piece of control we have?
Anyway, my point being is if it is only a human, if it is only capable by humans, then that makes it one of the things that would be most human. In the same way that art, right? Like animals don't make art, and so art is
differ.
Okay. So then art's out. Art is
I've
not a
seen
thing that can prove that you are
great
human.
paw art from dogs. I got a Mother's Day card from daycare. My dog made.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay,
but so what is one of like what are the things that humans do that other things don't do?
Yeah.
Then that would be the thing that can prove they are truly human. That's all. That's all I got.
And I don't know how we measure it. I don't know how we would know. I mean, yeah.
Anyway, all told, we've talked about this book for longer than we've talked about a lot of other books. So, like, it did something for us.
I liked it.
Yeah, I'm never going to recommend it to anyone, but because I think that there are other books that we have read that have dealt with similar questions. You know, so like if it's like, well, what do you do? Like, what is a person or whatever? Like, I'd probably recommend Children of Time because those spiders are people or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's just like a better ride. So I'm glad we read it since it was on the list. I guess we should watch the movie.
Yeah, apparently it's been out for a while.
Yeah.
Movie's from like 2010 or something crazy. It's 2024. Did you know that?
It do bees.
I forget that sometimes. I'm like, 2010? Pff, that was last year.
Yeah. All right, so Peggy says humans purposefully hurt each other. That's interesting.
Animals do that too. Have you ever seen giraffes
Let's
fight?
roll Ruth out for a second and just be like, look how human this is.
Yeah. So speaking of things that we would... Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that's the same thing.
I don't... But...
I'm not... I don't have like a clear definition here, so I'm going to have to play around with that.
Yeah. It's just so hard to gauge the thought process of an animal because most animals cannot communicate. Some can, but they can't communicate at the level that we're communicating.
Sure.
I mean, a dog has the verbal skills of a preschooler. That's their vocabulary. They don't have the verbals. I don't mean like they can talk, but they have the comprehension level of a preschooler. Can you even express a desire, you know, of discontent like that or wanting to die like that as a preschooler? I don't think that kicks in yet.
Oh, I bet you can.
And if I don't, this is gonna go to the bad place, and I don't really want
we don't need to like take this thing for. I was just like pointing that out as like an interesting sort of we could have skipped. What if we had skipped 7 pages of sex stuff and done that instead? You know,
Yeah.
and like that would have given me some. That would have added something
But
interesting.
you know,
to this
I mean,
book.
that's the point of literature. You know, it's not to like lay it all out for you. It's to give you just little nuggets for you to pick apart and explore to your level of
Sure.
comfort.
And it's also not the author's job to make me happy, and I recognize that. Right? That is not the point. And you write what you want to write, and if you're happy with this, I'm psyched for you. Psyched.
Yeah. I got confused for a second. Andrew Garfield and
Keira Knightley are in the movie.
but I was like, Andrew Garfield was a president. That really blew my mind for a second.
I think that's true.
Yeah. I didn't realize that Andrew Garfield was also.
Now he's
an
got like the
actor.
big hair. It's like this. I think he was a Spider-Man one time.
I'm
I'm not really sure
anything
about
about that. Allison, I don't know why you deleted your
There was-
message, but it was good.
There was a typo in there, I think, but it was.
But it was still a good, yeah,
Yeah, still
it's a
good
very good point. Because again, that's a willingness to not go on. I don't know that that's a willingness to die.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I would qualify depression as willingness. I think there's that's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're getting like hyper in the weeds there, right? And it doesn't matter. So, anyway, as far as this book goes, yeah, good things to talk about. I feel like we kind of ended up here. I feel at this ending a lot like we did at Mountain and the Sea, except I was the positive one at the mountain for the Mountain and the Sea. Like I really enjoyed that book. I thought it had so much to say, and I could have gone longer, and everybody else was like, "Bro, let's cut this out now."
Yeah.
But anyway, that was
I just felt so bad for the AI guy.
yeah. Leave it. Good girl. Okay. I might mute this in a second, guys. Keep it easy. But anyway, but I kind of like books where the club is a little torn on them. You know, I think that's nice.
Yeah, well, sure. Yeah. That's more to talk about. So, speaking of things to talk about,
Let's talk.
what are you guys going to read while we're on break?
Yeah.
Oh,
So what we want you guys to do for at least 3 weeks is you pick a book and you read it. I'll tell y'all what I'm going to read.
What are you going to read?
I had started the 3rd Martian book, Golden Sun,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it is. I'm gonna read that one. I'm not.
about
I'm not saying it's like a classy read, but I'm gonna do it. And
It'll be good, though.
it will be good.
Shh, no, sweetie.
And I think I'm also maybe gonna read like a Brandon Sanderson if I have time. I think doing another one of his will be good. If y'all remember, he's the guy who wrote Tress of the Emerald Sea. I've read almost everything he's ever written, but I haven't read Elantris, which I think is a one-off. So I'll do that.
I bought Redemption of Time.
Oh, is that the
The Bashuo one.
the what?
The Remembrance of Earth Past, but it was the one written by the other guy that was like blessed by Shishin Liu.
What? I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, Bashuo.
Redemption of Time.
Isn't that what it's called?
What'd you get it on? Is it on Audible?
It was on sale.
Deal. I'll read that too.
But I think that's the one that's about
Okay, very cool.
who was the guy that we ended up liking that was in space and he did all that research and he ended up like
Yeah, that guy.
do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know who you're talking
It's more about him.
I gotcha.
I think, yeah.
Greg says, "Oh no."
Oh no!
We'll report back.
Oh no! Get my money back. Oh, Ball Lightning is the one that I
Yeah.
meant to do.
Yeah, Ball Lightning is supposed to be really good.
That was the one I wanted.
That's okay. We can do both. It looks like that one's like an hour long. something.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm not sure about that, but the thing you just showed me said it was very short.
I'll have plenty of time.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. Anyway.
Ball Lightning is the one that I meant. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So Shelby's finishing Children of Time.
Cool.
So worth it. House of Leaves.
I've heard good things about that, but I've never read it.
What the River Knows. I also maybe wanted to read another Adrian Tchaikovsky book.
Okay.
I've had some recommendations pop up on Me Audible.
I've heard some of those are hit or miss.
Yeah. Greg. Tell us. And Peggy read the one after Children of Time, I think.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
I don't know. But yeah, I want to... I mean, I think it would be really cool for, like, after y'all have read whatever you read, we have an email address for the book club.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all would just email us, like, your, synopsis or whatever, your thoughts on the book that you read. Yeah. And we can have an episode of books we really haven't read.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
And then we can share your synopses.
And I don't think we intend to be, like, totally out. But we might post things, like, just for the fun of it as we go.
Because we'll miss you guys. Feel like I've lost my purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't finish. Okay. Peggy didn't finish the second one. And then, I liked Project Hail Mary so much. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to read The Martian. But I would like to read something else by him.
That'd be cool.
And then there's also some, like, thrillers that I want to read that have been on the list that never get drawn.
Yeah. And we will draw another book
at some point in there.
Whenever, like, the next meeting is supposed to be, that will have to be a actual discussion day. So we probably won't actually, whenever we say we're going to be out for 3 weeks, we'll put up a syllabus, like, 2 weeks from today or something,
Yeah. So
that we can go ahead and be reading that. Because we don't want to, like, do another week where it's just the syllabus. And then it's really, like, a month, and because we need to try to wrap things up before Christmas if we can.
Yeah.
For another, like, day or two off. So anyway, it doesn't matter.
We'll look at our calendar and figure out what we're really doing. We'll let y'all know. But just keep reading and be ready. Like, take notes. Be ready to share.
I'm ready. All right. Interesting. Okay, you ready?
I guess that's all.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming and joining us today. I had a lot of fun with this discussion. I really did. So, she just nods her head. Did not have fun with this discussion.
No, I did.
I'm just picking.
I always have fun.
I'm just picking.
I like talking about books.
Yeah, me too. It was crazy. We've been doing this for so long. All right. Well, anyway, y'all have a great couple weeks off. Read you something fun, and we will see y'all soon. Just be watching the channel for posts or shorts or something that will tell us what we're going to be doing next.
Keep sending memes and all kinds of good stuff to the Instagram account. Like, we don't want to not be communicating with you guys.
Right.
We just aren't going to be in a position where we can go live and do stuff. So, or consistently read, even. Mm-hmm. So, happy reading.
See y'all next time. Wow, that was fast. I feel like it normally takes longer to shut off. Total watch time 4 hours. Hell yeah.
I'm usually waving for at least 3.